Welcome to our lecture, where we will be exploring two critical components of the Electronic Common Technical Document, Module 2 Summary Documents and Module 3 Quality. This lecture builds upon our foundational understanding of the eCTD structure and dives deeper into the specific requirements and organization of these essential modules. Module 2 serves as the bridge between the detailed data contained in Modules 3, 4, and 5, and the regulatory reviewers who need to efficiently evaluate your submission. Think of Module 2 as an executive summary that provides quality, non-clinical, and clinical overviews in a structured, harmonized format. Understanding how to properly construct these summaries is crucial for any regulatory affairs professional. Module 3, on the other hand, contains the complete chemistry, manufacturing, and controls information, everything about how your drug substance and drug product are manufactured, characterized, and controlled. This module forms the foundation of your quality documentation and must be meticulously prepared to demonstrate that your product can be consistently manufactured to meet its specifications. Today's objectives include understanding the granularity concept in eCTD submissions, learning the 5 primary components of Module 2, exploring the detailed structure of Module 3's drug substance and drug product sections, and understanding how these modules work together in the overall regulatory submission. By the end of this session, you will have a comprehensive understanding of these modules that will serve you well in your regulatory careers. Let me walk you through our agenda for today's lecture. We have organized our discussion into 2 main sections that mirror the structure of the modules themselves. In the first half of our session, we will focus on eCTD Module 2 overview. This includes understanding what Module 2 is designed to accomplish, examining the table of contents and granularity structure that defines how documents are organized, and conducting a detailed exploration of each of the 5 primary subheadings: the quality overall summary in Section 2.3, the non-clinical overview in Section 2.4, the clinical overview in Section 2.5, the non-clinical written and tabulated summaries in Section 2.6, and the clinical summary in Section 2.7. The second half of our lecture will transition to eCTD Module 3 overview. Here we will examine the detailed structure of Module 3, with particular emphasis on the 3.2.s drug substance subsections and the 3.2.p drug product subsections. We will also discuss the types of source documents that feed into Module 3 and the practical considerations for compiling this module. Throughout both sections, I will be referencing the relevant ICH guidelines M4Q for quality, M4S for safety, and M4E for efficacy, as these form the regulatory foundation for how these modules are constructed. Understanding these guidelines is essential for anyone working in regulatory affairs, as they provide the harmonized framework accepted across major global regulatory agencies. We are now beginning our deep dive into eCTD Module 2, which contains the Common Technical Document Summaries. This module occupies a unique position in the CTD pyramid, sitting between the regional administrative information in Module 1 and the detailed data repositories in Modules 3, 4, and 5. Module 2 serves several critical functions in the regulatory submission process. First and foremost, it provides regulatory reviewers with a comprehensive yet digestible overview of all the quality, safety, and efficacy data contained in your submission. Reviewers often begin their evaluation with Module 2 because it allows them to quickly understand the scope and findings of your development program before diving into the detailed study reports. Second, Module 2 demonstrates your scientific synthesis capabilities. It is not sufficient to simply conduct studies and generate data. You must be able to integrate the data into a coherent narrative that supports your regulatory strategy. The summaries in Module 2 show that you understand what your data means and how it supports the safe and effective use of your product. Third, Module 2 facilitates cross-referencing within your submission. The summaries should include hyperlinks and references to the detailed information in other modules, allowing reviewers to easily navigate to supporting documentation when they need more detail on a particular topic. As we progress through this section, pay attention to how each component of Module 2 corresponds to and summarizes the detailed data in Modules 3, 4, and 5. This relationship is fundamental to understanding the CTD structure. The CTD pyramid is perhaps the most iconic visual representation of the common technical document structure, and understanding this hierarchy is essential for grasping how Module 2 fits into the overall submission architecture. At the top of the pyramid sits Module 1, which contains regional administrative information. This module is not actually part of the harmonized CTD because it contains region-specific requirements such as application forms, prescribing information, and administrative documents that vary between regulatory authorities. This is why it is shown separately from the main CTD triangle. Module 2, which we have highlighted in this diagram, sits in the middle tier of the pyramid. It contains summaries and overviews that bridge the gap between the administrative information above and the detailed data below. The three main columns of Module 2 represent quality overall summary on the left, non-clinical overview and summary in the center, and clinical overview and summary on the right. The base of the pyramid contains Modules 3, 4, and 5, which hold the actual detailed data. Module 3 contains all quality data including the complete chemistry, manufacturing, and controls information. Module 4 contains non-clinical study reports, the complete study reports from your pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and toxicology studies. Module 5 contains clinical study reports, the detailed documentation from all phases of clinical development. The pyramid structure illustrates how information flows from detailed data at the bottom, through summarized information in Module 2, to support the regulatory decisions made at the top. Each level should reference and be consistent with the levels above and below it. Granularity is a fundamental concept in eCTD submission that refers to the level of hierarchy and organization of folders and files within the eCTD directory structure. Understanding granularity is essential because it determines how your submission is organized and how easily reviewers can navigate to find specific information. The term granularity is predominantly an ICH term, while the FDA often refers to the same concept as hierarchy. Both terms describe the same organizational principle: how deeply nested your folder structure goes and at what level documents are submitted. All 5 modules of the eCTD have granularity options, meaning you have some flexibility in how you organize your documents within the prescribed structure. Both the FDA and EMA provide guidance on appropriate granularity levels for each module, though they may use different terminology to describe these options. One crucial point to understand is that granularity should fit the type of submission you are making. Not all eCTD dossiers have exactly the same structure. The therapeutic area, disease indication, and type of product all influence the appropriate level of granularity. For example, a submission for a complex biologic product may require more detailed folder structures than a simple small molecule drug. Perhaps most importantly, remember that your IND submissions mature into your NDA or BLA. This lifecycle management perspective means you should plan your eCTD structure with the end goal in mind from the very first submission. Starting with an appropriate granularity structure will save significant effort when you later need to compile your marketing application. Module 2 at its first level of granularity provides summary data for 5 key components of your regulatory dossier. These 5 sections form the backbone of Module 2 and each serves a distinct purpose in presenting your development data to reviewers. Section 2.3 is the Quality Overall Summary, which provides an overview of all the chemistry, manufacturing, and controls information contained in Module 3. This section summarizes everything from drug substance characterization to drug product stability, giving quality reviewers a comprehensive picture of your manufacturing process and product quality. Section 2.4 is the non-clinical overview, which provides an integrated and critical assessment of the pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and toxicology data from Module 4. This is a narrative document that interprets the non-clinical findings and explains their relevance to human safety. Section 2.5 is the clinical overview, which provides a critical analysis of the clinical data from Module 5. This section interprets the clinical findings, discusses the benefit-risk profile, and places your product in the context of existing therapies for the target indication. Section 2.6 contains the non-clinical written and tabulated summaries. Unlike the overview in 2.4, these summaries provide detailed factual presentations of the non-clinical data in both narrative and tabular formats. The tabulated summaries are particularly important as they allow reviewers to quickly compare results across studies. Section 2.7 is the clinical summary, which provides detailed factual summaries of all clinical studies. This can be a substantial document ranging from 50 to 400 pages depending on the extent of your clinical development program. The organization and content of Module 2 summaries are governed by 3 separate ICH guidelines, which you should become thoroughly familiar with as regulatory professionals. These guidelines provide the harmonized framework that enables the eCTD to be accepted across multiple regulatory regions. M4Q, titled the CTD Quality, governs the structure and content of quality-related sections. This guideline covers both Section 2.3, Quality Overall Summary, in Module 2 and the entire Module 3 Quality Documentation. M4Q provides detailed guidance on how to organize and present your chemistry, manufacturing, and controls information. M4S, titled the CTD Safety, addresses the non-clinical sections of the submission. This guideline covers Section 2.4, Non-Clinical Overview, Section 2.6, Non-Clinical Written and Tabulated Summaries, and Module 4, Non-Clinical Study Reports. It provides guidance on presenting pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and toxicology data. M4E, titled the CTD Efficacy, covers the clinical sections. This guideline governs Section 2.5, Clinical Overview, Section 2.7, Clinical Summary, and Module 5, Clinical Study Reports. It provides detailed guidance on presenting biopharmaceutics, clinical pharmacology, efficacy, and safety data from clinical studies. These guidelines have been implemented across all major regulatory regions, though implementation dates vary. The FDA implemented M4Q in August 2001, while the EMA implemented it in March 2003. Japan, China, Canada, and other ICH member regions have all adopted these guidelines, making the CTD structure truly global. This slide presents a side-by-side comparison of the Module 2 table of contents as defined by ICH and the M4, R4, guidance and by the FDA in their comprehensive table of contents, headings, and hierarchy document. While there are slight differences in terminology between these two sources, the essential content is the same. The ICH M4, R4, document lists Module 2 as common technical document summaries, beginning with Section 2.1 for the CTD table of contents, Section 2.2 for the CTD introduction, and then the 5 main content sections we discussed earlier. Note that the ICH document provides broader category headings under Sections 2.6 and 2.7, listing pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and toxicology under 2.6, and various clinical summaries under 2.7. The FDA's comprehensive table of contents provides more granular section numbering, particularly for Sections 2.6 and 2.7. For example, FDA explicitly numbers subsections 2.6.1 through 2.6.7 for the non-clinical summaries and 2.7.1 through 2.7.6 for the clinical summaries. This level of detail helps ensure consistent organization across submissions to the FDA. Understanding both frameworks is important because you may need to submit to multiple regulatory regions. The good news is that because these are harmonized documents, the same Module 2 content can generally be used across regions with only minor modifications to region-specific references. The Granularity Annex in the M4 guidance provides additional detail on at what level documents can or must be submitted, using a color-coded system to indicate flexibility and requirements. Section 2.3, the Quality Overall Summary, serves as the executive summary of your entire Module 3 quality documentation. This is a critically important document because it provides quality reviewers with an efficient way to understand your product's chemistry, manufacturing, and controls without having to read through hundreds or thousands of pages of detailed documentation. The primary purpose of the QoS is to provide sufficient information from each section of Module 3 to give reviewers an overview while emphasizing the critical parameters of your product. What constitutes critical parameters depends on your specific product. Is it a drug-device combination? Is it first in class? Is it a small molecule or a complex biologic? The QoS should include relevant cross-references, typically implemented as hyperlinks, to the detailed information in Module 3 and other modules. This allows reviewers to easily drill down into specific topics when they need more detail. There are important length constraints for the QoS. The document should not exceed 40 pages of text, with an absolute maximum limit of 80 pages. This limit excludes tables and figures, which can be as extensive as needed. This page limit enforces discipline in writing. You must be concise and focus on the most important information. Critically, the QoS is not required for IND submissions. Module 3 itself covers the quality information needed for an IND. The QoS becomes required for marketing applications such as NDAs and BLAs. The QoS is organized into two main sections covering drug substance and drug product, each with subsections for general information, manufacture, characterization, controls, reference standards, container closure, and stability. Section 2.4, the non-clinical overview, provides an integrated and critical assessment of the pharmacologic, pharmacokinetic, and toxicologic evaluation of your pharmaceutical product. Unlike the factual summaries in Section 2.6, this overview is interpretive. It explains what the non-clinical data means and how it supports the safety of your product. The overview should reference which studies were conducted according to good laboratory practice standards and which were not. GLP compliance is an important regulatory consideration, and reviewers need to understand the quality framework under which your studies were conducted. Relevant scientific literature should be referenced in the overview. If there are published studies or known information about your drug class or target that inform the interpretation of your data, these should be discussed and cited. The required sequence for the non-clinical overview begins with an overview of the non-clinical testing strategy. Why did you conduct the studies you conducted? What was your rationale for species selection, dose levels, and study designs? This strategic context helps reviewers understand your development approach. Following the testing strategy, the overview should address pharmacology, covering both primary pharmacodynamic effects and secondary pharmacology findings. Then pharmacokinetics should be discussed, including absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion data. Toxicology findings come next, integrating results from single-dose, repeat dose, reproductive, and carcinogenicity studies as appropriate. The overview concludes with an integrated overview and conclusion section that synthesizes all the non-clinical findings and explains their implications for human safety, followed by a list of literature references. Section 2.5, the clinical overview, provides a critical analysis of the clinical data and presents the conclusions and implications of findings from across the entire clinical development program. This is where you tell the clinical story of your product, from early Phase 1 studies through pivotal Phase 3 trials. The overview should highlight important safety and efficacy findings and provide a thorough evaluation of the benefits and risks of your product. This benefit-risk assessment is one of the most important elements of the clinical overview, as it directly addresses the fundamental regulatory question: do the benefits of this product outweigh its risks for the intended patient population? A statement on good clinical practice compliance should be included, confirming that clinical studies were conducted according to GCP standards and ethical principles. The overview should also describe the overall rationale and approach to clinical development. Why were specific study designs chosen? How did the development program evolve? The required sequence for the clinical overview covers multiple key areas. product development rationale explains why this product is being developed and what unmet medical need it addresses. Overview of biopharmaceutics discusses drug absorption and bioavailability. Overview of clinical pharmacology covers pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic studies in humans. The overview of efficacy summarizes the evidence supporting effectiveness for the claimed indication. The overview of safety provides an integrated safety assessment across all clinical studies. Finally, benefits and risks conclusion synthesizes all findings into a clear benefit-risk assessment. The therapeutic context section places your product in the landscape of existing therapies. Section 2.6 contains the non-clinical written and tabulated summaries. These documents differ from the interpretive overview in Section 2.4. They are detailed, factual summaries of the non-clinical data organized in a standardized format that facilitates regulatory review and cross-study comparison. The format can be modified slightly to fit the structure of unique non-clinical development programs, but consistent use of units should be applied throughout to aid review. This consistency is crucial when reviewers are comparing data across multiple studies. Discussion and conclusion sections should integrate data across studies, and importantly, exposure of animals to the test article should be related to exposure in humans. This human exposure comparison helps reviewers assess the safety margins established by your non-clinical studies. For all sections where non-clinical data is summarized, studies should be ordered by species in a specific sequence: mouse first, then rat, hamster, other rodents, rabbit, dog, non-human primates, other non-rodent mammals, non-mammals, and finally other species. This standardized ordering makes it easier for reviewers to find and compare information. Similarly, routes of administration should be ordered with the intended human route first, followed by oral, intravenous, intramuscular, intraperitoneal, subcutaneous, inhalation, topical, and other. This ordering prioritizes the most clinically relevant route. Section 2.6 includes 7 subsections: Introduction, Pharmacology Written Summary, Pharmacology Tabulated Summary, Pharmacokinetic Written Summary, Pharmacokinetic Tabulated Summary, Toxicology Written Summary, and Toxicology Tabulated Summary. Section 2.7, the Clinical Summary, provides detailed factual summarization of all clinical information contained in your dossier. This is often the largest section of Module 2, ranging from 50 to 400 pages depending on the size and complexity of your clinical development program. The clinical summary should include a comparison of clinical efficacy and safety across all clinical work, allowing reviewers to see patterns and trends across your studies. It should also describe how this new therapeutic fits against the backdrop of other approved therapeutics in the particular therapeutic area, or highlight the lack thereof if you are developing a product for an indication with no currently approved treatments. Unlike the clinical overview in Section 2.5, which is interpretive, the clinical summary is factual. It presents the data without extensive interpretation. The detailed interpretation is left to the overview. The sequence for Section 2.7 is consistent between ICH and FDA guidance. Section 2.7.1 covers summary of biopharmaceutic studies and associated analytical methods. Section 2.7.2 addresses summary of clinical pharmacology studies. Section 2.7.3 contains summary of clinical efficacy, typically organized by indication. Section 2.7.4 is the summary of clinical safety, which integrates safety findings across all clinical studies including common adverse events, serious adverse events, and laboratory findings. Section 2.7.5 provides references cited throughout the clinical summary. Section 2.7.6 contains synopses of individual studies, providing a brief summary of each clinical study conducted. The synopses in Section 2.7.6 are particularly useful for reviewers who want a quick understanding of study design and results without reading the full study report in Module 5. We now transition to our discussion of eCTD Module 3, which contains all quality documentation for your pharmaceutical product. Module 3 sits at the base of the CTD pyramid and represents the detailed foundation of your quality case. Module 3 is often referred to as the CMC module because it contains all chemistry, manufacturing, and controls information. This encompasses everything from the synthesis and characterization of your drug substance to the formulation and manufacturing of your finished drug product, along with all the analytical methods, specifications, and stability data needed to ensure consistent product quality. The importance of Module 3 cannot be overstated. While Modules 4 and 5 demonstrate that your product is safe and effective in non-clinical and clinical studies, Module 3 demonstrates that you can consistently manufacture a product that meets the quality standards required for human use. Without robust Module 3 documentation, even a highly effective drug cannot be approved. Module 3 documentation is governed primarily by ICH Guideline M4Q, which provides the harmonized structure and content expectations for quality documentation. However, regional guidance documents also play an important role, as specific requirements for CMC documentation can vary between regulatory agencies. As we explore Module 3, pay attention to the parallel structure between drug substance and drug product sections. This mirrored organization reflects the logical flow of pharmaceutical manufacturing. You must first understand and control your drug substance before you can successfully manufacture a drug product. Module 3 provides an in-depth description of the entire end-to-end chemistry, manufacturing, and controls process for your pharmaceutical product. Simply stated, it explains how the drug is made, what it is made of, and all that is known about the chemical properties of the drug. Understanding the distinction between drug substance and drug product is fundamental to Module 3 organization. The drug substance is the active component of the drug, the molecule or biological entity that produces the therapeutic effect. For a small molecule drug, this would be the synthesized active pharmaceutical ingredient. For a biologic, this would be the purified protein or other biological material. The drug product is the finished product in its final dosage form. It includes the drug substance plus all excipients, and is manufactured in its final container closure system. The drug product is what is actually administered to patients. It is important to note, per M4Q guidance, that neither the type nor extent of specific supporting data has been fully prescribed in the guideline. The specific data requirements may depend upon regional guidance from individual regulatory authorities. This means you should always consult the specific requirements of your target regulatory agencies when preparing Module 3 documentation. Module 3 documentation often comes from multiple sources including internal quality teams, contract manufacturing organizations, raw material suppliers, and testing laboratories. Coordinating and harmonizing this documentation is one of the key challenges in preparing Module 3. The Module 3 Table of Contents establishes the organizational framework for all quality documentation in your submission. Understanding this structure is essential for properly organizing and navigating Module 3 content. Section 3.1 is simply the table of contents for Module 3 itself. Section 3.2 contains the body of data, the actual quality documentation organized into 4 main subsections. Section 3.2.s contains all drug substance information. This is organized by drug substance name and manufacturer, meaning if you have multiple drug substances or multiple manufacturers for the same drug substance, each combination would have its own 3.2.s section. Section 3.2.p contains all drug product information. This is organized by product name, dosage form, and manufacturer. Different strengths or dosage forms of the same drug would have separate 3.2.p sections. Section 3.2.a contains appendices, which are generally not applicable for IND submissions but become important for marketing applications. These appendices include facilities and equipment information for biotech products, adventitious agents safety evaluation for biological products, and information on novel excipients if your formulation contains excipients not previously used in approved products. Section 3.2.R contains regional information that is specific to particular regulatory authorities. This is where region-specific quality documentation would be placed. Section 3.3 contains literature references cited in the Module 3 documentation. The drug substance section, numbered 3.2.S, contains comprehensive documentation of your active pharmaceutical ingredient. This section is organized into 7 major subsections, each addressing different aspects of drug substance development and control. Section 3.2.S.1 provides general information including nomenclature, all the names by which your drug substance is known, structure, the molecular structure with stereochemistry, and general properties, physical and chemical characteristics such as appearance, solubility, and stability. Section 3.2.S.2 covers manufacture, including identification of all manufacturers, detailed description of the manufacturing process and process controls, control of starting materials and reagents, controls of critical steps and intermediates, process validation and evaluation data, and manufacturing process development history. Section 3.2.S.3 addresses characterization, including elucidation of structure and other characteristics, and identification and qualification of impurities. Understanding your impurity profile is critical for ensuring drug substance quality and safety. Section 3.2.S.4 covers control of drug substance, including specifications, analytical procedures, validation of analytical procedures, batch analyses demonstrating consistency, and justification for the proposed specifications. Section 3.2.S.5 describes reference standards or materials used for testing. Section 3.2.S.6 covers container closure systems used for storage and shipping of drug substance. Section 3.2.S.7 addresses stability, including summary and conclusions, post-approval stability protocol and commitment, and actual stability data. The drug product section, numbered 3.2.P, contains comprehensive documentation of your finished pharmaceutical product. The structure parallels the drug substance section in many ways, reflecting the need to characterize and control the product at both the substance and product levels. Section 3.2.P.1 provides description and composition of the drug product, including a complete list of all components and their functions in the formulation. Section 3.2.P.2 covers pharmaceutical development, documenting how and why the formulation and manufacturing process were developed. This includes information on components, drug product formulation development, manufacturing process development, container closure system selection, microbiological attributes, and compatibility. Section 3.2.P.3 addresses manufacture, including identification of manufacturers, batch formula, description of the manufacturing process and process controls, controls of critical steps and intermediates, and process validation data. Section 3.2.P.4 covers control of excipients, including specifications, analytical procedures, validation of those procedures, justification of specifications, and special considerations for excipients of human or animal origin or novel excipients. Section 3.2.P.5 addresses control of drug product with specifications, analytical procedures, validation, batch analyses, characterization of impurities, and justification of specifications. Sections 3.2.P.6, 3.2.P.7, and 3.2.P.8 cover reference standards, container closure system, and stability respectively, providing the same types of information as the corresponding drug substance sections but specific to the drug product. Preparing Module 3 documentation involves coordinating and integrating information from many different sources. This slide highlights some of the key practical considerations for compiling high-quality Module 3 documentation. A significant consideration is that many documents for Module 3 will come from contract manufacturing organizations, or CMOs. These documents need to be closely reviewed for accuracy, completeness, and consistency with your overall submission. Harmonizing documentation from multiple CMOs can be particularly challenging when different facilities use different formats or terminology. Module 3 documents can often be mapped to the eCTD structure in a rolling fashion during development. Rather than waiting until you are ready to submit your NDA to begin organizing your quality documentation, you can begin populating Module 3 folders as documents become available during development. This lifecycle approach reduces the workload at the time of submission. Typical Module 3 source documents include development reports such as characterization reports and formulation development reports. GMP documents including specifications, standard operating procedures, validation reports, and stability reports are essential. Databases containing batch analysis data and stability data provide the tabulated results. Datasheets from laboratory information management systems including chromatograms and spectra provide the raw analytical data. Documents from CMOs, suppliers, and testing laboratories must be obtained, reviewed, and integrated into your submission. Establishing clear processes for document collection, review, and version control is essential for efficient Module 3 preparation. As we conclude today's lecture on eCTD Modules 2 and 3, let us review the key points we have covered and their significance for your work in regulatory affairs. Module 2 contains summaries of quality, non-clinical, and clinical information that provide reviewers with an efficient way to understand your submission. The organization and content of Module 2 summaries is defined by 3 ICH guidelines: M4Q for quality, M4S for safety, and M4E for efficacy. The 5 primary components are Section 2.3 Quality Overall Summary, Sections 2.4 and 2.5 for non-clinical and clinical overviews, and Sections 2.6 and 2.7 for non-clinical and clinical summaries. Module 3 contains all chemistry, manufacturing, and controls documentation, with structure and content governed by M4Q. CMC submissions present unique challenges because documentation often comes from multiple sources including internal teams, CMOs, suppliers, and testing laboratories. Regional differences in GMP requirements must also be considered. The key to efficient Module 3 preparation is to begin organizing documents early and submit relevant CMC documents to your eCTD environment on a rolling basis. Understanding the structure and requirements of Modules 2 and 3 is essential for successful regulatory submissions. These modules form the foundation of your quality case and demonstrate to regulators that your product can be consistently manufactured to meet established specifications. In our next sessions, we will explore Modules 4 and 5, covering the non-clinical and clinical study reports that provide the detailed safety and efficacy data summarized in Module 2. Thank you for your attention.